The Oklahoma Sooners are on a heater in the transfer portal, and Lane Kiffin is out in LSU causing all kinds of ruckus with guys already signed elsewhere. We're going to talk about all of it right now on Rise and Shine College Football. Good morning, and welcome back to Rise and Shine College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss a moment of Hall of Fame college football. Welcome into the show, everybody, back in the mobile studio, the Hall of Fame Caravan, bringing it to you live. We will have Chris Mason in the show shortly, a couple minutes away from Chris Mason. We're going to talk about this heater that Oklahoma is on in the transfer portal, grabbing away players that leave Texas, should have supposedly been going to Indiana. No, they're in Norman with the Sooners, so we'll talk about that. Also, Damon Williams, quarterback at Washington, signs a deal just a couple of days ago to stay as the Washington quarterback. But then Lane Kiffin decides he likes him, and he's headed apparently into the portal to become an LSU Tiger. We're going to talk about that as well. What a deal. And all this happened, by the way, while, you had a player being shown around as the next quarterback in Baton Rouge. The number one quarterback in the portal already at that point, already there. Apparently he's going to be there. You hear guys like Matt Moscona talking about he's the real deal. You got to make sure you grab him up, and then we'll see. It's wild stuff, guys. Wild stuff. Good morning to David Whitehead, T Boomer, True Okie, Brandon Snake. What's up, guys? Sooner Cowboys. Logan Licky. Good morning. Duke Silver Sooner. Good to see you guys. Scott Walker. All you fellas. Good morning. Make sure you like the stream. What the hell was that? Do y'all hear that out there? That certainly was not that Blue Jay that I just saw on my truck a minute ago. That was kind of cool. Hadn't seen one of them in a while. Rules. What's rules? Rules. What rules do you mean? There are no rules. Yeah, apparently Washington, though, will be fighting this. And everything that I'm seeing about it, it's chaos, man. It really is. It's chaos everywhere. And I'm with you. I think that at some point there's got to be some kind of rules somewhere. I think the way that you're going to get there, though, is going to be through, as we've talked about, there's going to have to be, there's going to have to be collective bargaining. There's got to be. In order for you to get rules that stick, you got to have collective bargaining. We'll see how it goes. Situation has drawn the attention of the Big Ten. The conference was vocal in last year in Xavier Lucas's controversial transfer from Wisconsin to Miami, which, again, he already had a contract as well, supporting the Badgers, trying to force the DB's contract with the team, but that did not work out. He left the school, they said you couldn't go into the portal. He just disenrolled, and he was a Miami Hurricane right after that. Nothing worked out for him. So one of those things where you can sit here and say these things if you want to. In the end, not a good thing. Yeah, Giovanni Gibson being in the portal is one of those ones that, that one sucks for me as well. Same with Hawkins. You know how I feel about Michael Hawkins. Definitely going to be, and this will be new for me, but I'm a West Virginia fan now. Until we see those guys move along from there, or whatever's going on. But excited for Michael to be able to find a place that I think is really going to fit him very well when you start looking at what they do there. 1 second there, Mr. Mason. Let me fix something real quick. Let's see. Yeah, as I said, that's one of those deals where I mean, do you feel really good about for him and the way it seems like it's going to work out in that deal because of the fact that the system that they run with Rich Rod. I mean, remember what Pat White did in that system? It worked out very, very well for him. And I believe that Michael Hawkins is dynamic in that way, and he throws a better ball. So, welcome into the show, our own portal and recruiting expert from Sooners 360, Mr. Mason. Chris Mason, welcome into the show, sir. How we doing?
We're doing good.
Yeah, listen, we're just we started off the show talking a little bit about this whole deal with DeMar Williams at Washington, who a day or two ago signs a deal with Washington to stay, and then all of a sudden LSU and Lane Kiffin get involved in it, and it looks like he's in the portal, and I don't know if they're going to be able to keep him there or what, but it doesn't sound like he probably will. Have you heard any of this?
Oh no, I saw it all last night, and I'm not sure he's declared for the portal. But isn't there doesn't he have to go through Washington's compliance to get in?
It feels like you do. I don't know exactly what. I know that the Big Ten is jumping in and wanting to do something about it as well. But we saw this last year with the kid from Wisconsin that decided he wanted to get in the portal. He had already signed a deal with them. Obviously you would think that you would have learned something from that. That every school would behoove themselves to find out what it was that you could have done to do anything differently. But I'm wondering if look, every time something goes to court in any way, the NCAA is not winning that deal. They're getting their asses handed to them anytime it goes to court. So if there's something that you can't do, or if there's something that you're supposed to do, you're going to have to make sure that you get it done. But I'm wondering how much further this pushes us towards collective bargaining, because I agree, there's got to be some kind of stipulations and stuff. There's got to be some kind of guardrails to protect the universities if you're already entering into contracts with these kids.
Oh yeah, I mean it's clear he signed a contract with Washington. Now, yeah. You could. My legal expertise is about as good as my expertise in NASA rocket science. But as I technically understand it, with the contracts I've signed in my life, there are terms and penalties. So I would imagine that Washington should be able to enforce whatever terms and penalties exist in the contract. And obviously they had the Big Ten had this issue with Miami last year. Apparently they rewrote their boilerplate contract to try and tighten everything down for this year. And we know, it's wild. There's also some element that I don't know if I have this right. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong. That the team was at some funeral service when they found out, and DeMond Williams missed it while he was doing this. So I'm not sure about that. Jason, your audio is not coming through right now. I don't know why. Doesn't show me mute, but I'm not hearing you. Is anybody else hearing Jason? So I don't know that. There you go.
How about now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know that DeMond Williams is all that great that you should be spending all this money on him anyway. He's a good.
Well, he played basically as a freshman. He's a sophomore this coming up, and so he had a 69% completion percentage. Had I want to say it was 3,000 yards along with 600 yards rushing. So it wasn't.
He's a good quarterback, but
Elite, I would know. I'm not sure that he's elite. I mean,
And
but
he really struggled in their biggest games against their best competition.
fair
So
enough.
I mean,
Fair
and
enough.
that's a tough barometer to grade anybody on, really. But I'm just saying, it's not like he's Caleb Williams when Caleb Williams left Oklahoma, right? I mean, there's not
Right.
that kind of buzz. I mean, and they're talking about paying him a ridiculous amount of money. I think it's bizarre. I do think this is going to go into an ugly legal fight. We
Well, I
may
agree with
have
that part. I think it's getting to the point now where and look,
you got to go to the mattress. If you're Washington, you've got to take this to the mattresses, right?
I think you do whatever you can. I think you do whatever you can. I don't know how there's a whole lot that they can do, but as we talked about, because of the fact that you've seen all these, anything that goes to court in any way you haven't been able to really make a difference as far as that's concerned. If you're the NCAA now,
This is Washington, a separate entity doing something. So
if Washington does it on its own, possibly,
yeah,
and at some point, a contract has to matter at some point, right? I mean, if you sign a deal, you sign a deal. Now, what is the deal on? It depends on what their contract is. Does it include? I mean, are we talking about revenue share versus NIL or any of that other? I don't know. You're not supposed to be able to sign, according to everything we know, on an NIL deal so much. That because if that's the case, they're allowed to make as much as they possibly can in the NIL, and they've been losing on that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to say that I've got any kind of any more legal expertise than you said you do. I would say this: Lane is losing his mind a little bit on having this ability to do things that he wasn't able to do at Ole Miss. Him being with Levitt at that basketball game for LSU, knowing that they're kind of showing him off now, and then they announce all that stuff about that. That's wild, man. It's just wild.
yeah,
So
it is.
I don't know exactly what's going down here, but it doesn't look like a great deal as far as any of that goes.
It's a
You
bad.
know,
It's a bad look. It's a bad look for the kid. It's a bad look for. Is it possible to have a worse look for Lane Kiffin?
I don't believe so.
I don't
But
believe so. But I think it's. I think if you're Washington in the Big Ten, there will be a lot of folks in other conferences saying, big time programs saying, please take this to the mattresses.
yeah,
We all need protection from this, and we all need to know that our contracts have some. Again, you the only Jason, the only significant contract I've ever done in my world is when I bought 3 homes, right? And
yeah,
when you're signing a contract on that, there are penalties for you to walk away from a signed contract. You're going to closing. You're signing all kinds of financial documents, and all of the homes I bought, are all under the dollar number that we're talking here. I mean, we're talking $4 or $5 million maybe. So if Washington doesn't have the strong legal contract in there, you're also making a contract with a state organization. From that aspect, I don't know if that plays into this, but I think it's Washington needs to take this to the mattresses, if for nothing else, that we can all get an answer on whether you sign a 2-year contract. Does it with a college football player? Does it mean a damn thing or not? It certainly does in the NFL. Certainly does in the NBA. Certainly does in Major League Baseball, hockey, the EPL, every other professional sports entity out there. So maybe this is the line where you've got to seriously say, and they're not amateurs, they're semi-pros or pros, and these are our contracts, and this is what we're paying them. Jason, for some reason, I think we lost your audio again.
how about now?
There you go. So, but just to roll back on the topic I walked in on, Jason, I'm very happy Mike Hawkins found a good place to land. I think his brother probably could have gone just about anywhere. Obviously, he wants to play with his brother, so that's kind of why Malik is at West Virginia.
No, they ended up in a good position, right?
That's a good spot. First off, they don't have a starting quarterback, an incumbent, where he has to deal with any incumbent bias, really, or a successful incumbent, or a big money free agent incumbent, whatever you want to say. The incumbency bias that just exists. He doesn't have to deal with that. It's a good fit for him, and I think he can. I think he could quickly excel in that offense, and I'm happy for him. I think with there's a long list of Sooner guys that are transferring. I think we all, even with a little bitterness about maybe some of the injury guys not helping us the last couple of years, we just all want these guys to find places where they can play and be successful, unless they're playing OU, right? Javante Barnes, we want Javante Barnes got to Kentucky. Good for him. Hopefully, Will Stein can find a way to use him as a second back, blocking back, something that just excels, highlights what he does. And I hope he has a great season, other than when he's playing OU. But I was happy to see Mike Hawkins land at West Virginia, because other than that, I was a little worried where he was going to be able to land, not because of his skill set, but just because of teams with commitments in free agency or incumbents that wouldn't be the best situation. Because I think, as we all know, Mike just needs to play. He needs reps on the field.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
I was happy for him there, from that standpoint.
I'm excited for Mike. I think when it comes to Mike, he's going to have his opportunity. And again, as I was saying, I don't know systems that would you almost look at it as tailor-made for Michael Hawkins and what we've seen.
Yeah, it's a great.
What we've seen him do in the past with similar quarterbacks. I would say, you look at Pat White and what he did at Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl that year, and that was without really much of a throwing arm, right?
Yeah, let's not dig at that.
Yeah, I don't want to bring that back up, but I'm just saying. Yeah,
I'm just joking with you. Yeah, I mean it's a good fit, and he can get on the field. And once he gets on the field and he gets reps.
Oh, it is coming back, guys. I thought that the chat wasn't going to repopulate. It found its way. It's repopulating, at least here. So you're not going to see it on the screen, but I can pop your comments up when I think they're worthy of it.
Yeah, I just think it's a good. It wraps up this saga with a nice bow. He's got a great chance to start and be successful, and that's all. And that's all we really want for the kids. And I think Malik will be successful kind of wherever he goes. Listen,
I mean, and I think that you probably have less to deal with as far as people in front of you there as well.
Yeah,
as we know at Oklahoma. Hey, look at Oklahoma. That's one of the rooms that there's a lot of competition.
I know he's losing players. I know he's losing some players because of it. He might lose another guy just because of it. But again, I just like that storyline has a nice ending to it. We can all just watch and enjoy Mike Hawkins at West Virginia, hoping him the greatest success that he can have.
Yeah, listen, I think that they become somewhat of a contender in that league.
It's wide open, other than Texas Tech spending.
I think it's wide open too, and I think that with Tech, with everything they're doing with the money, BYU is doing similar things with their money. So you have to kind of look at that too. But I would say that overall, you can find a way to get out there and compete, and a guy that's as dynamic as Michael is, running a 4.4, a 4.4 and sub. We've even heard 40. This guy's a dude that could get up to that 22, 23 mile an hour spot right now. Ask Auburn.
Oh yeah, so, for West Virginia. I don't know any details of his NIL, but I think this is probably a high risk, high reward play for them that they probably didn't. There was a lot of money involved. There was a lot of money involved from what I've heard. Yeah.
Which you would expect. Look at the money that's floating around for quarterbacks,
crazy.
especially right
it's
now.
Insane right now. So, but yeah. So, do you want to jump into some Sooner stuff?
Yeah, there's a heater going on, man. We've been kind of beating around the bush about that, but there's a heater going on in Norman. Look, man, I would think that as much as if you were listening to Twitter or paying attention to Twitter in the days leading up to Saturday and Sunday, you'd think that the world had exploded and that Oklahoma was at the epicenter of the explosion, right? Over since Sunday, Monday, and headed into yesterday, even OU's been on a heater.
They have. They have. So if you were if you were worried about what the Jim Nagy front office era of OU portal operations were going to be, and you were Friday, Saturday wondering what the hell's going on, why have we hired this guy, why have we let him hire a staff,
Right.
you're pretty much eating a crow buffet by today. I think, Jason, just to talk about the offense first, getting 2 tight ends to clean up and boost that room is huge. If you haven't watched the Gabe and Teddy breakdown, In the Weeds on Hayden Hansen, go watch it. That guy is a tight end we haven't had since Brody Eldridge back in 2008, 2009. He's 6'8", 6'7", 270. He's a blocking machine, both in line and in motion. You could even leave him in pass pro on SEC caliber defensive ends, NFL caliber defensive ends. He's got better receiving skills than I think most folks realize. DJ Lagway seemed to have something in his contract where he wouldn't throw him the football, wouldn't throw Hansen the football last year, even though he was wide open. So I think you get that piece, and he makes your tight end room better. We all know the tight end room was a tough position last year. Caden Helms did what he could.
Hey, wait. Why are you burying the lead? Parker Livingstone. Why the hell are we burying the lead here?
I was kind of going in the order of the verbals, but if you want to jump there, fine. OU needed 2 wide receivers. They needed to spade up 2 guys with Satania. And they got Trell Harris, who is a very good wide receiver from Virginia.
Absolutely.
If you're sitting on him, don't sit on that. And then they were able to identify and get Parker Livingstone on campus away from Indiana. Indiana really wanted him. They wanted to pair him with Nick Marsh from Michigan State, who they got, and they got him away from Notre Dame and a couple other people. So OU was able to out-recruit Indiana for Parker Livingstone. He's a big guy, 6'4", 190. And if you have that starting 3 set of wide receivers, Livingstone, Trell Harris, and Isaiah Satania, that's a good threesome that upgrades the OU passing attack. There's some carryover from that I'm not overly happy about Giovanni Gibson leaving, but everyone's got to do what they got to do. So it's a big addition, and on the plus side, it's driven the Texas fan base absolutely crazy. So and their mods on their pay sites have lost their mind a little bit over it.
Yeah, I think it's great. That's why it's the lead. Look, Parker Livingstone had a touchdown in the damn Red River game last year. Oklahoma hadn't scored a touchdown in 3 of the last 4. So it's good to know. Look, again, you know how I feel about the situation at quarterback and the way that the offense is run. The offense has been run overall. I haven't been excited about. I don't particularly care for the fact that there are a lot of good quarterbacks in the portal, and we're not looking. And you doesn't feel like you're probably going to be able to get any of them because Mateer's entrenched. So you don't. There's no competition involved. They're not going to go out and spend the kind of money that it would be to get one of them when they've already paid the kind of money they have for Mateer. So you better go get somebody that you can expect to make big plays in this offense some way, somehow. This is a kid that for much of the year to me was the safety valve for Arch Manning. They were roommates. He threw him the ball when they were struggling to find open guys,
or any offense at all, any passing offense at all.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. They whenever he was struggling, it seemed like Parker Livingstone was the guy that they found. So to me, I would tell you that this is a big move. And anytime you can get somebody that played a significant role for your rival a year ago or, in the last season, then I think that that's a big time deal. I love some of the other stuff they're doing as well. Trell is a stud too. The kid from Virginia was a stud. He had 90 catches, didn't he? Something like 90 catches?
Yeah, he was nearly 1,000 yards. He's about like 890, 870, something like that. Making big plays all over the field. OU got him in on campus and signed before anybody really could blink or realize or compete with OU for him. Livingston. I mean, let's just call it what it is. We all watched the Texas-Ohio State game. The only guy that made a play for Texas that day was Livingston.
It was
on offense. That's it.
It was.
Nobody else showed up at all or made any kind of plays. It was Livingston, and that's it. So it's a big addition. He's got 3 years to play because he's a redshirt sophomore in the fall. So you kind of get that value as well. Because OU really wants to, Nagy's made it clear he wants high school wide receivers to get developed. So this guy can be kind of a mentor, leader in that room because you'll lose Satania and Harris after this year. But, Livingston gives you a chance to carry on, he'll be around for a couple of years and do that. So, he wanted to go to OU out of high school. Jeff Lebby was, the stories are that Jeff Lebby was lukewarm on him and he wanted some other faster, different guys. So OU moved on from that. So I think it's a big addition. The 2 wide receivers are a big addition. Like you said, we all need regardless of whatever other opinions we have, we all need Mateer to play better, and giving him better weapons is your best way of doing that. To that point, I think
health and weapons.
Health and weapons. I think Hansen gives you a huge weapon for the running game, which is what we need to give Mateer more than anything. I feel like is a running game.
Take the ball out. You can go back into that. I know I was busting your chops about that, but honestly, I think the Hansen pickup might have been the most important one.
Yeah, because he's what he could do for the running game and the versatility of what you can do in 12 sets and like that. Things along those lines.
Which is something that he wants to do. This is something that Buckle thinks he has to do, is be in 12 personnel and 11 personnel stuff where you're mashing up tight ends and expecting them to get key blocks en route to the, being able to.
It's to set up what you're doing.
Correct.
And when you see Gabe and Teddy's in the weeds on him, you can see how big this guy, how powerful this guy is, and how he just eats people alive in blocking. I mean, he's burying NFL defensive ends. He's burying, all SEC linebackers in the run game. And then I don't think we should sleep on Rocky Beers. He has really good tape. He's 6'5", 250. He's a good receiver. And, I had a friend say, I said, well, he's 7 TDs. That's the best TD receiving season for Colorado State. And they were like, well, Colorado State, a big deal. What does Colorado State have in tight ends? Colorado State has Trey McBride, who's an all-pro tight end with the Cardinals this year in the NFL. So they don't, he broke a record of a guy who's going to be an NFL all-pro this year. And the other tight end Colorado State has, Beer's backup, signed with UNC. And between the two of them, they had about 600 yards pass receiving and about 10 touchdowns. Well, if we could get that out of our tight end group next year, I think that would be a path to success. So I think Beers gives you.
That was the room that had to be upgraded.
Oh, yeah.
It had to be upgraded. There was no 2 ways around it. We talked about the Joe John deal. Now, Bogdanowski was on here saying he didn't know that if it was a guarantee that Joe John is gone, any of this stuff the other day, that he hadn't seen it anywhere that it was
official
or whatever is how he put it. It's official. I heard it yesterday on KREF that it was official. He's out.
Yeah, I mean, it's the sources that published it wouldn't have published it unless they had cleared it with someone at OU. When it first went live last weekend, at the end of last week, right?
Agreed.
The George Stoyer from Sooner Scoop is not going live with that message unless he has talked to somebody at OU that says it is
triple. And as a reporter, that's what I was trying to say. You have at least 2 verified sources telling you that's the case, and more times than not, at least 3.
Yeah, and he's not going to put his reputation on a firing unless a departure like that, because if he publishes that and OU's like, we're not doing that
to it as there has been,
right? And exactly, you can't unring that bell if you say that. So to that point, but I do think Rocky Beers is a good addition to at tight end.
Love it.
And then you got Hayden Hansen. They also brought in the Yale tight end yesterday, Spencer Mermans. He's
Uh-huh.
6'6", 260. So they're bringing in big guys to restock that room. I still think, Jason, even if they get Mermans, there's a chance they might add a fourth tight end, someone that the new tight end coach wants. That you, as soon as you bring him in, the first thing I would tell that tight end coach is, if I was Brent and Nagy, sit down. Is there somebody in the portal you want, or is there somebody we should be? Is there somebody that you want to bring in, either from a high school sense, or from a for February signing day, or from the portal? You say, is there a guy you want? Yes, I want this guy. Okay, let's go get him for you. I think that just makes sense from a personnel standpoint, right?
Sure.
Empowering your personnel. You want to get this guy going and moving in the right direction
Absolutely.
from the hop. So it's interesting. Ty Simpson's going pro. That's an interesting thing.
I saw that. I saw that as well. He was either. I think that was one of those things that you kind of saw that coming, because Keelan Russell, as much as you've heard all year, and especially when he started struggling, you started hearing a lot of chirping about Keelan Russell. But I think that there was a time during the fall that they thought that Keelan was going to win that job.
Yeah, the Mac kid looks very interesting too. Austin Mac.
I like Mac too, but I don't know that he's going to hold off.
Yeah, that doesn't sound likely. But yeah, so, and then, I think, Jason, two not underappreciated assets, but I think, storyline most folks are, you just, on a certain level, OU started Sunday with 5 offensive linemen on the roster who had Division I experience.
Ooh,
By Tuesday, they had 7.
Yeah.
And you could,
how does that come about? I mean, we were talking about how important it was to be better in the line and be able to run the ball, and it doesn't seem like you get a lot of really good linemen in the portal these days. Except this year seems to be different. There's guys from every damn near every position that are leaving what appears to be good jobs or good deals for them to jump in the portal.
It's weird. Texas A&M has snagged 2 LSU linemen because A&M's lost their top 6 offensive linemen due to graduations and NFL early entries. So that offensive line that really powered their season is completely wiped out. So they picked up 2 LSU guys. I like the 2 guys OU picked up. Caleb Nitta instantly gives you a backup center. We played 3 centers the last 2 years. I think getting a backup center is a great move, and he can run your second team offensive line in spring, and you badly need that too. Amarian Harris has starting potential. Mm-hmm. So I think he gives you 6 starters right off the bat, which I think is good. We played a lot of tackles. It gives you some flexibility. It gives Bill some competition and some movement there. OU certainly doesn't appear to be done at offensive line. They have the Work kid from Mississippi State who's coming in for a visit. He's a tackle guard combo guy, 6'5", 315, 320. Would have 2 years to play, and then they're bringing in Peyton Joseph from Georgia Tech, who has 4 years to play, I believe, or three years to play, depending upon his redshirt status this year. He's 6'4", 285, 290. He was a top recruit out of high school, so he has a lot of potential. He's probably a guard, but he can easily carry, 6'4". Tech kind of kept their offensive linemen a little lighter because of their scheme a little bit. That's just the way they worked. He could easily be 6'4", 315, 320. He's got a huge frame and has a world of potential. Mm-hmm. So OU's moving to add I think they'll come out of the portal with 4 or 5 offensive linemen, and then when you add the 5 guys that we thought were going to be competing for starting positions, you add 4 portal guys behind that, and then you have the 3 guys that should be competing in the spring that were still on the roster: Afalava and Hollenbeck and Akinkimi. And then you've got 2 offensive linemen coming in from the high school class. You're starting to have rebuilt that room. I'd still like OU to add at least 1 high school offensive lineman in February signing day. if they can find one. We'll see. Maybe OU finds another guy in the portal that they like and want to move in. A couple of interesting names that OU did. One that OU did recruit out of high school is Texas portal entry Daniel Cruz. OU was in his top 3. So he redshirted this year, so he would have 4 years to play. And then Broderick Shull from Bixby went to Auburn last year, and he's back in the portal. He was a highly ranked kid. OU had Foji and Fasusi, so they weren't quite as focused on Shull because he's probably a tackle as well. I think that's changed, and obviously I think Shull redshirted at Auburn, so now you've got a year separation between him and Fasusi and Foji, so maybe you could bring him in as well. They're eyeing other targets. So I guess the only negative that we have, Jason, is OU did pick up 2 interesting talents on defense. High ceiling, high potential guys who have multiple years. From that perspective, Dakota Fields from Oregon and Kenny Ozowalu from UTSA, who Texas wanted. I know you beat Texas for him. He's got a high ceiling. He's a massive looking kid, super athletic. You give Chavis that 3 years to build that kid up. Who knows what he could be by the time he leaves Norman. Dakota Fields was a top 100 guy out of high school from an established California powerhouse. Mm-hmm. Kind of got wayward at Oregon for reasons I don't know and won't speculate on. But I think probably his coaching staff, his high school coaching staff, probably contacted Stacy Ford and said, we've got a kid not doing well at Oregon. Is there a chance that we can get him to Norman and get him a second chance at OU? And I like the DB room with Brandon Hall and Valai, just from a coaching standpoint, is very strong. And then you talk about the player leaders in that room, right? Eli Bowen, Reggie Powers, Michael Boganowski, Peyton Bowen. When that kid walks in, he's going to be surrounded by leaders saying, this is how we do things. This is the way things work. You do this. Absolutely. You do this and improve. The coaches will get you on the field. We played, I don't know, did OU play something like 10 DBs last year, probably? At least. Mm-hmm. Something like that. So Fields can come in. He's got a world of talent. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. He can play corner. He probably is big enough to play a cover safety role. So that's a nice addition. So, but the only negative is OU lost Mark Van Summeren, the Michigan State defensive tackle. They thought they had all locked up to USC. So OU's having to go back to the board a little bit. They need a defensive tackle. We're losing Marcus Strong, who was probably the number one exit loss.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what obviously the kid from Michigan State signing with USC, that was who they were really after, right? And so it's kind of surprising in that regard, especially in view of the fact that, they don't play defense at USC. But I guess if you're going and looking for a place to where you're their number one guy, you got a better opportunity there.
And they paid him allegedly, David Stone type money.
And he's not David Stone.
Well,
right.
Our defense, the way our defense played last year, we can at least say we know the real thing when we see it, right? We know what when we say David Stone money, we now know what that means, right? What a number one defensive tackle really looks like.
Well, they just that was a big announcement that they made over the weekend as well, that they re-signed him. Yeah. I don't know what the number is. I'm guessing it's pretty substantial.
It's significant. They took care of him, and he wanted him. And I think after last year, he wanted to make a splash and say, "Look, OU's taking care of me. I'm happy. I'm here." Yep. I think an OU was like, "Hey, we're happy you make that announcement too," because all the people that pretend that OU doesn't have money to spend, when David Stone comes out and says,
the Broklahoma stuff is wild.
The moronic stuff about that. But OU's going to have to find a guy. All right, I probably butchered this 3 times last night with Chris when I talked about it. The guy they look like they're going to have a shot at is Tomiwa Duraje from Illinois. Don't make me pronounce that again. He's 6'5", 300 pounds.
Let me find him.
He's from Illinois. He was at Kentucky, he was at West Virginia, and he was at Florida State, and then he finally got playing time with Illinois, and he was pretty successful. He had a pretty good year. So he was honorable mention, All Big 12. Illinois has been putting out good defensive tackles lately. There's a couple of guys in the pros that have come from Illinois. So he was pretty productive. He's somebody to keep an eye on. He'd only give us 1 year, which is okay. So the pronunciation guide, actually, it says there, I just missed the pronunciation guide. It is Tomiwa Duraje.
Tomiwa Duraje?
Yep, Tomiwa Duraje. There we go.
That's not what you said the first time.
I know it isn't. I got the pronunciation guide here now. Give me a break. So that's the guy they're looking at. They're probably going to look at a couple other names. But the problem, the thing I'm just slightly worried about, Jason, is that the market for D tackles is just so overpriced and overheated that can OU find a guy for the dollar number that they can actually afford who can really help the rotation?
Right.
It's a tough balancing act. And at some point, do they find themselves wandering into a number where maybe they go back to Marcus Strong and say, okay, that was your number. You left. You're looking around, but this is our. We've got a new number for you, and maybe that gets into play, or maybe the number starts creeping up. That OU starts looking at some other guys and going from there. It's a tough position to be in. OU's done a good job at the offensive line. As you said, there's a lot of guys. LSU is somehow going to have to replace 8 offensive linemen. And they're spending all this money on quarterbacks, and I don't think they've talked to any offensive linemen. I don't know how. They let 8. LSU's offensive line was trash last year, but you at least got to have some guys to build from, right? I don't know how they're going to add 6 or 7 offensive linemen from the portal. Maybe they've got backyard deals going on that too. But I think OU to have gotten the 2 guys they got, knowing that they have 5 starters already, and they've got, everyone's like, well, why don't we go for this guy? Why don't we go for that guy? Why don't we go get Lance Hurd? We have offensive tackle number 1 money in Fasusi and Foji. You can't. You can't pay 3 starters at offensive tackle. It doesn't work that way. You see Bama losing guys, Michigan losing guys, Ohio State losing guys. Everyone's bleeding, as you said, offensive line to a certain degree. And OU obviously, they lost some guys, and I think for the most, I'm happy Sexton found a spot at OSU. I'm happy Taylor found a spot at West Virginia. At Iowa State. I'm happy, if these guys can stay healthy, maybe they can actually have a positive end to their college careers from that standpoint. But yeah, it's tough out there. But I think overall, what you have to be impressed with, Jason, we'll see the results on the field and how that plays out, right? And none of us can really know and say, oh, these guys are all going to be great or these guys are going to be bad. But I think what you're going to be impressed with is the execution and efficacy of what OU did.
Mm-hmm.
They went out and got guys.
Definitely. Look, they've done a good job as far as grabbing guys that they want. I would definitely ask. Coach Thompson here talking about EJ, and it's stirring comments. What's going on with Emmett Jones? Why is it that it seems like none of his players are staying around? Guys that he's recruited, guys that he's brought in, whatever. It's all. Are they flipping? Is there something to all these flipping the wide receiver room pretty much completely?
Well, I think so. Everything seems to indicate that Emmett Jones is staying. Okay, that there's nothing going on. Yeah, the social media follows and his interactions with the guys visiting. That's what it looks like. At one point, I thought that maybe he was in trouble, but for right now, barring some other data, it looks like he will be returning.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
I think
I would say,
I think we've discussed this on our chats on Thursday, and the data is what the data says it is, right? Emmett Jones has done a good job with other people's wide receivers, sort of from a certain perspective, right? He did a good
mhm,
job in 2023 with the group of wide receivers he sort of inherited, and with Andrell Anthony brought in from the portal. 2024 is such a mess. I have a hard time really grading him accurately on that. It was disappointing that some of the freshmen didn't make a jump, but it was such a mess offensively.
right.
You know it was a train wreck, and it's hard to really say. Your cabin was disorganized. The train went off the rails, guys. Why are we talking about that? But
Well,
this
that's the thing. I mean, I think if you're going to start blaming people, and I get if you don't want to blame Arbuckle because he's new and you're trying to keep continuity and all that stuff, fine. But
he
I
didn't do
think
what he didn't do what he
it's hard
needed
to
to do.
blame EJ for what was going on with Seth Luttrell and
Yeah,
Joe John. And I would tell you again, their offense didn't look good last year, and I don't think it was a receiver problem. It was a quarterback not seeing receivers problem.
yeah. I mean, the big issue, the elephant in the room with EJ is the high school development, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't Zion Kearney and Manny Choice and Elijah Thomas see the field more last year? Okay, and I think that's a Arbuckle, EJ, Brent discussion about how they manage and handle their wide receiver rotations.
Sure.
It was a problem under Levy too, right? We had a short rotation, and then you get a guy hurt, and it would take a couple of games to get things going. We lost Andrew Anthony in 2023, and
Yep.
it took a couple of games.
Well, and even like with he had what it was he had oh boy what's his name that ended up at Washington was in his doghouse immediately, and he didn't want to play him.
Yeah,
And Theo Weiss, and Theo was healthier than he had been at any point in his career at Oklahoma, and is not getting on the field.
yeah. So you've got some issues. So even then, those short wide receiver rotations, I think, are hurting OU, and they need to be expanded. Nagy's been very clear in the comments he made post signing day that he feels like we signed some elite wide receivers. I need to see them on the field. I need to see Jaden Petit, Daniel Odom, and Jasir Rogers are enrolling early. Someone needs to start developing and getting them on the field because I'm sick and tired of paying big money for portal wide receivers when I'm paying big money for high school guys.
Right.
I spent money and
And they're
I
not
own them.
playing. And I mean,
And
Zion Kearney, Zion Reagans,
yeah,
Ivan Carry on. These are guys that are not getting into ball games.
yeah.
And then Elijah Thomas, from what we've understood, it was more of a thing with Brent wanting to kind of, I guess his, transition to the college lifestyle wasn't going as swimmingly as Brent wanted it to.
He
And
was
so he
also
was
struggling a little bit with the playbook, is what the word was too. So,
okay. Okay.
and I don't know if that's true or not. But EJ's returning. But I think it's been very clear from Nagy, from Brent, we need to start seeing a better rotation. We need to start seeing a better rotation of wide receivers, and they need to start playing more options because we cannot continue to keep going back to the portal and spending what we've just spent. They spent a lot of money to bring in Livingston
I'm
and
sure they did. You
and
had to
Harris, and you
for
have to.
him
It's just the market's just what it is.
yeah,
But you also spent a lot of money to get Jaden Petit and Rogers
sure.
and Odom. So you need to start seeing those guys develop. They need to start developing Thomas and Choice from that aspect as well.
Yeah.
You need to start developing those guys and having a true rotation of wide receivers, and not always have to go back to the portal. I mean, I'm the high school recruiting guy, so I got to say that for 2027, OU's got an absolute burner of a kid in DeMar DeZern. When he walks on campus, he is a D.D. Westbrook, Hollywood Brown kind of talent. Top 100 kid, blowing it up his junior year. He's electric, and he's got speed to take everything over the top. So, Truoki, we will get to your question in just a second.
He got less than 150. Parker, come on.
Yeah, come on.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, Coach Top. There ain't no fucking way.
Yep. So I think that's the case. EJ, it's a prove it year. Same thing for DeMarco. It's a prove it year, right? We just spent money to get you the high school running back you wanted in Hatton. We got a high school running back in Walker that Nagy loves and thinks is going to be great. You got two young running backs. You know, they need to get healthy, but you know, you've got a room of running backs. And we're doing everything else. We're doing everything elsewhere to improve the running game. We need to see the running backs improve as well. So I think it's prove it years for those two guys. Because at the very least, EJ was integrating portal wide receivers well, and they were performing well. And everyone may say, well, that's not a big deal. Well, you're maybe right, but it's true. So they were certainly from that standpoint. That's at least a positive that you can say from EJ. But obviously, I think the other points that folks have are dead on accurate. True Oki was asking about the linebacker Cole Sullivan. So there's Michigan portal entry, Cole Sullivan, a linebacker. He's a redshirt sophomore, so he would have 2 years to play. He's 6'3", 230, dynamic. OU thinks he can be special and is, to repeat a term, going to the mattresses with Michigan for this kid. They really want this kid. They think you plug him in with a returning Kip, with Samo Musigo and Nesta, who they think is going to be a great guy. They're working on it, right? They're working on it from that standpoint to try and beat Michigan. Brent went out to Ohio. I think he's from Ohio. Went out to Ohio to do an in-home. And OU's basically, upping their NIL offer because they think he's very good. If that doesn't work out, they're going to shift to Owen Long from Colorado State, who we've talked about before. He hasn't signed anywhere, and I think OU is also a little bit waiting on the Corey Heineke situation, which no one really has a reliable answer. I think it's pretty clear Kip is returning. So you're talking about Kip, Samo Musigo, James Nesta, and hopefully this kid, Cole Sullivan, and then OU feels like they'd be back to a really solid 4 linebacker group. And if something, you land a miracle on the waiver of Owen Heineke, your linebacker room's even stronger.
Right. Coach Top, I know damn good and well that not everybody's getting $500,000. I'm telling you that there's no way that 150 is what got this kid to Oklahoma, Parker Livingstone. When he was also in Indiana a couple of days before that, there's no way that was the number. Give me a fucking break.
Now that may have been the number Texas tried to.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the OU number was significantly above $500K.
And we're not idiots here, dude. We're not sitting here saying that everybody gets paid a shit ton of money and all this kind of stuff. And a
lot of the year numbers are 2-year contract numbers, so cut it in half.
Yeah.
But
and if that's the number on paper or whatever, we also know that there's incentives that are laced into a lot of these contracts as well, like nobody else talked about except for us on the David Stone deal last year.
Yeah. So OU paid to get Parker. He's coming in to start. I mean, Parker was hurt. If he wasn't hurt, he probably has nearly 700-800 yards receiving for Texas. He was hurt midseason. Mm-hmm. He was their only reliable receiver until Lockett and Wingo had kind of big bowl games and had a couple of big games late when they finally started playing offense. But everyone's like, "We only had 500 yards." Well, did you see how few yards frickin' Arch threw in the middle of the season? I mean, what was it like 110 against Kentucky? Some crap like that. So So I mean, OU feels comfortable with what they did. He's a good fit for what they want. You combine him with Satania and Harris. I think one of the things we sort of learned as the season went on is that Burke and Satania were kind of the same guy from a certain perspective in terms of their skill set. And now you've got different guys with different skill sets around Satania, which are going to make him even more of a threat. Will make him a threat. And if teams have to focus on, they're going to try and focus on Satania in the slot. They're going to be leaving themselves wide open for big plays to Harris and Livingston, provided our quarterback sees them and pulls the trigger. But I do think the OU needed to update their offensive line depth, check. They needed to rebuild the tight end room, check. And they needed a couple of playmakers at wide receiver, check. So it's Nagy's going through his MS project list and checking a lot of boxes. Meanwhile, there's a lot of other programs out there, Texas, that are not really hitting their needs and not doing a good job of that in the first 5 days, and are obviously suffering some setbacks and kind of are all in on Cam Coleman, and they're going to have to pay a king's ransom to get him. And they stand every chance of thinking they have him locked up and watching Texas Tech decide that they're just going to outspend Texas because that's just what they want to do. They did that for the offensive tackle that Texas really needed out of high school that Tech signed, the big kid that that OU was recruiting at one point, but then fell off because they knew the money was too high and they already had Fasusi and Foji, so there was no real point. But I think that's the major point, is that the front office staff, hit the must-haves that OU needed. OU so far, I would say, is 2 offensive line, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. They're a defensive tackle away from hitting their top 7 needs.
I mean, they're doing their job. That's what I'm saying, and that's why I'm sitting here going back and forth. Coach Top, you got to stop, dude. You got to stop. You're going to sit here and try to tell us that you're going to sit here and try to go counter to everything that my guy's saying. Don't do that shit. Don't do that shit. Because where are you going to sit? Are you going to come in and tell me where your sources are and who they are that are saying this otherwise? Because I know that the sources that Mr. Mason has are legit.
I tell stuff behind the scenes in our secret chat to Jason and Chris all the time, and generally speaking,
I have sources too that are saying, I double check a lot of the shit that you say. I've been doing it for a year. You're not wrong.
I mean, I'm not always right. But
not everybody is, but things change. Also, things change. You gotta knock that shit off, bro. You gotta knock it off.
But generally speaking, if I like, I'm going to give you guys a high school nugget, right? That I haven't mentioned. I don't think I mentioned maybe last week. Zane Rowe, Denton Geyer defensive end, is going to be a Sooner. Bank on it, done. It's over.
Mm.
So, and in
and as far as like the 4 weeks Nagy and stuff, look, this is the way. You don't have to like it. Nobody really has to like it. Right. And I'll just say that nobody really has to like what's going on with Nagy. And the bottom line is nobody gives a shit at Sooner at the Switzer Center, because the guys that he's brought in, they've by and large they have produced, save for Jaden Knott.
Yeah, he made a mistake there.
Yeah, but he was a take everywhere. That's the point. I'm just saying
he could have gone to Georgia and done the same damn thing.
Correct. Wouldn't have mattered.
Because Kirby
and part of it too, I would also say that I don't know that had much to do with him either, because whatever was going on in the running back room or whatever was going on with Buckle, it's not like anybody had great opportunities to produce in that offense the way things work.
Yeah,
there wasn't a commitment to the run game,
and the shuffling O-line didn't help, and you've got other cause factors in there as well. But it's clear that Nagy has a process, has a front office working. They have a procedure. Their execution is operating at a high level. What the results are, we'll see on the field. But they're telling us that this is the guy they wanted, and they got the guy they wanted.
Yeah.
It's And it's interesting that it's going so smoothly for OU with their NFL style GM, and Texas doesn't have that. They don't have that setup. They don't have the setup that OU has. I think a lot of teams are going to end up copying what OU has after this portal season when it all ends out and you see that OU has the number 4 portal class in the country, and has hitting on the kids that they want the most. And they're going to look at, well, how did OU pull this off? And then turn around. And then you're going to turn around. And then the end of February, by February 5th, OU's going to have maybe 4 more verbals in their 2027 recruiting class. And all 4 of those guys are going to be top 100 caliber players. And then you look at that and you're like, oh, okay, OU has a top 5, top 10 portal class, and they have a top 3 high school recruiting class for 2027. How is that operation work? How is that operation working? And it's, well, we've got a true scouting and recruiting staff at the top for both high school and portal recruiting. And they also did, I think, for the most part, Jason, they did a good job on retention. I mean, Devon Jordan went to Baylor because Baylor offered him a significant amount of money. And Marcus Strong is out there looking for a bigger bag of money. I think he's making a mistake from a development standpoint. But, you know,
well,
we'll see where he lands.
We'll see where he lands. Why he isn't being offered more when they need the depth there, right? Or they're
and again, they may come, and that's where the inflection point will be, Jason. Right? That OU will reach a point where the money they're having to offer for a kid is more than they were going to offer Marcus Strong, and they evaluate Strong as being better than that kid. So that maybe they roll back to Strong and say, "You're right. You were right. This is your real value, and we're matching that." Something along those lines, right? That always, just because he's left doesn't mean he can't come back. We've seen that before, and in this defensive tackle market, that may be what OU decides, or OU's like, and. There's, we can question some of the evaluations maybe on offense. If you want to start questioning Todd Bates' evaluations, I'm going to tell you that you need to just back up and look at the data we have. And the data we have says that Todd Bates knows what the hell he's doing in coaching and developing defensive tackles and evaluating them.
Right, of course.
I mean, and some people want
I said this the other day. The people that are the people that want to sit here and do the EJ slander, I'm going to say this too. There was a lot of people talking shit about Todd Bates a couple of years ago. There's a lot of shit talking shit about Miguel Chavis.
A lot of shit. A lot of
it. Yeah, and one of them was in our chat a little while ago. But listen, these guys have proven that they know what the hell they're doing. Now, as far as EJ goes, I don't know what's true, what isn't, all that other kind of stuff. I would tell you that I'm not for all the EJ slander at the moment. I've never heard any of it before, and I think it's weird to do it now. And again, like I said, I think that there was bigger problems than what EJ was doing development wise, because these kids were running open.
Yeah, I mean,
period. End of story.
So yeah, it's. If you want to compare EJ to Joe John Finley and say their high school guys, aren't being as productive as you like, sure, you this is not an apples to oranges comp. It's just not.
No.
I mean, 2023, our wide receiver group we thought in 2024.
If they're not on the field, I don't know. I gotta ask if that isn't something to do with. I mean, look, the guys that got on the field were guys that, yeah, they picked them up in the portal. But it was when Buckle got there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and so we'll see. But like I said, it's clear from Nagy in his comments, his public comments, we got two elite guys at wide receiver. I got you 2 elite guys at wide receiver. Petite and Rogers.
Stop. I'm the fucking host here. This is my show. What are you talking about? And we're not going to sit here, and I'm not going to sit here and out the money for all these kids when I'm going to tell you, I don't know it, and I'm not asking him. And I don't care what the money is. It doesn't fucking matter to me. It doesn't matter to me.
All right. So, Truoki, that's that comment. That's what the general consensus is. Most people feel like with Lepak being restored to the tight end coach position at K-State, that's going to be a hard pull for OU. I don't think pulling the guy from Alabama is going to be easy, but I think that's the only name that's out there right now, and I think you're going to see either something come. No, EJ guys, the whole EJ Board of Regents contract thing. This is a red herring. Ignore it. It doesn't mean what people think it means. Okay, you're not letting EJ go January 30th if you're not letting him go right now. It doesn't work that way. I mean, Schmitty may retire on January 30th because that's when his contract ends, and he would like to retire. That might work, but for EJ, guys, you're following a red herring. Just stop it. It doesn't mean what you think it means. I've had people I trust tell me that. So if you trust me on recruiting information, trust me on that. That EJ contract thing isn't what you think it is. So I think the Bama coach is the guy who's first in line. I think OU's trying to get a contract and recruit him. And if they can land him, you'll see something in a couple of days. Other than that, I think we'll see a new name show up.
A Bama coach for what?
Tight ends.
Tight ends. Okay.
Yeah, he's had good. He's got a good deep resume in NCAA football, different positions. He's been at Western Kentucky with Arbuckle, so they have some crossover. They know each other, and he's done a good job at Alabama with their tight ends for the most part. And now, before someone says Alabama's running game sucks, Alabama's running game sucks because their offensive line sucks. Because you have a 300.
It's not a good fit for what they were trying to do.
No, I think
that Alabama's at a crossroads of players that were Saban players versus players that are his, and his type of players and what they do. Now, it's easy for you to. It would be very easy to sit here and tell you that maybe that means that you got the wrong guy in there if he can't make an adjustment to the players that he has. But as far as what's going on in the way they do things, I don't think it's because they don't have good players. I think it's because the way that they do things doesn't fit the players they have.
I mean, they've got two huge offensive tackles who they really want to do well in pass pro and are bad at pass pro, and they're not physical and they don't move people in the running game. And it's just kind of weird from that aspect. But I think the tight end play at Bama has been pretty strong. The Cuervo kid ate us up twice. He's a good tight end, and he was like
Cuevas. You're talking about Cuevas, great player.
Yeah, and they pulled him from nowhere.
And he came from the FCS as well.
Yeah, from nowhere. We were kind of laughing like that Bama was pulling in a tight end from there. Like,
I was a stud, bro. He ate OU's ass up,
and he did well in the SEC. And he said, and his coach is the guy. Is the guy we're looking at. His name's Brian Ellis. And if you look at his resume, it's a deep college resume. He can recruit. He knows offense. He understands offense. From that perspective, he would be a good addition if they can pull him from Alabama. After that, I don't know where OU goes. And everyone's saying Kevin Wilson. Guys, Kevin is much more valuable in his role as Brent's offensive consigliere.
Yeah, I mean, and I think he's already doing a lot. He's doing stuff everywhere. He's not just. I think you can expect him to be in the tight end room helping out if need be. I think you can expect him he works with Big Bill on stuff and helping out there.
And he helps Arbuckle.
I would like to see him help Arbuckle more. But yes, I think if there's going to be changes made to this offense, it's going to be because Kevin Wilson can help implement that.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
and he can kind of be that, like you're calling him the conciliary.
Yeah,
but I would say, yeah, he is that conduit between Brent and in the offensive side that needs to get bigger. In my opinion, wasting him as just a tight ends coach is kind of silly.
Well, he doesn't want to recruit high school kids. He doesn't. He's sick. He's
Right.
done. He's done with that. The Tulsa experiment told you that he was kind of done doing that.
Right.
The only other comment I would make, and it's not really to the portal, but it's also very clear from my sources that says that OU wants to re-energize the running game in a different way this offseason, right? And if you were wavering on that being a priority this offseason, the college football playoffs have told you that you need to double down on that. And if
On
you don't,
what? On changing things?
and being more assertive, however, more physical, having a consistent, reliable run game to support your quarterback. Because every team, every
look,
team
a
in
lot
the
of people
playoffs.
what was the first thing that people thought about? Why was Ole Miss going to lose to Georgia? Because they didn't run the football the same way. Bullshit, they don't. Kejuan Lacey's gotten it done.
Yeah,
and they run. They're not just a quarterback run team. Lacey's got it done. He got it done in that game against Georgia. And guess what? If they beat Miami Thursday night, it'll be because they got it done again in the run game, and they're able to, obviously withstand the amount of pressure that Chambliss is going to get put under as well.
Yeah, well, right? Lacey at that running game means that Chambliss doesn't have to do it all. He does a lot, and he was on a heater again against Georgia in that third and fourth quarter. But if you were watching the college football playoffs, which I can guarantee Brent, as a football junkie, was, he had to be saying, I got to get a run-in game to complement whoever I have at quarterback.
No shit.
Because it'll make the quarterback better. And just generally speaking, I need to be physical on that side of the ball, like I am physical on the defensive side in the trenches. So I need to mirror that as a team. And I think with Brent being, this offseason, we're not hearing any crap about Brent being in any hot seat, right? The defense is set, right? And he's got a defensive coaching staff he respects and trusts.
None of them going anywhere.
And none of them going
as long as the offense is not performing, everybody's on the chopping block. Just so we understand.
Exactly. So, but he can this offseason.
It's easy to pick on EJ. It's easy to pick on Big Bill. You've heard a lot of people that talk shit about DeMarco, and Joe John. He gone because of it, and part of that, you can say part of it was the stain that was left on him from being the co-offensive coordinator with Seth Luttrell. I would tell you that it probably started before all that, whenever he couldn't get guys to even look at Oklahoma, like Haas, Haas was a damn Oklahoma kid, and because of the stuff that he and Levy did, they wanted nothing to do with Oklahoma.
Well, and you lost Cooper Alexander. It's not Nate Anderson. Is it Nate Anderson? The Anderson kid from Washington. The two Kansas kids you couldn't get a bite at, Lincoln Cure and Brom. And that's not even including anybody from this last class. There was a big-time tight end in Kansas. He went to Notre Dame. And you just couldn't – Joe John just wasn't – Emmett and DeMarco have a more complex conversation about their high school recruiting, right? It's a more complex – everyone says, if you say Emmett Jones sucks at high school recruiting, I'd be like, yeah, that's a more complex conversation. If you say DeMarco sucks at high school running back recruiting, I'm like, yeah, that's a more complex conversation we need to have.
Right, because the stars don't say so.
Yeah, and their performance at times doesn't say so. Now, if you want to say Joe John Finley sucks at high school recruiting, I'm going to sit there and go, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and add Nate Roberts. Correct. Understood.
I'm not going to have anything. I'm not going to have. I don't have any counter there. And I'm not knocking the kids, but Caden Helms has been hurt. The kid they signed from Aledo when they signed Helms was a washout. Mm-hmm. Cade McIntyre can't see the field, and he's too small really to be effective in the SEC. Trinae Washington, we got because he was one of the Carl Albert kids, and he wasn't a true tight end in high school either. And the two guys we got this year, who I have been very high on. If you've seen my podcast, seen me talking with Jason and Chris, Ruxer, Nagy got Ruxer. He recruited Ruxer and signed Ruxer. And Ryder Mix is an OU legacy. So that's why Joe John Finley was as vulnerable as he was, because his high school recruiting wasn't producing anything. And he wasn't able to get us a portal impact player because they didn't want to play for him. OU, I've repeated this, I'm not sure why people are sort of stunned by this comment, but OU in the spring, when Nagy first came in, Nagy had money to upgrade the tight end spot. He couldn't find anyone to take it. We lost a number of recruits because they didn't want to play for Joe John. So you'll see, Neilio, thank you, that's the name, the premier kid. I mean, Notre Dame in tight end recruiting is an effing juggernaut, so that's a problem.
No shit.
That's a problem right there. So, but you want to protect the home. But OU's got tight ends that they are looking at for 2027 that they want to sign, and they're doing a good job so far, making momentum on them. They need to get a new tight end coach in to kind of close that deal. But I think Jason, that Brent has the time this offseason to kind of get in a film lab with Arbuckle, Wilson, Bill, and talk about what do we need to do to transform our running game. Because he's not coaching for his life. He's not transitioning to being a defensive coordinator and head coach. None of the things last spring that occurred are the same thing. He doesn't have to do all that. He's got Dreiling in at linebacker coach who he trusts. He's got Goodwin there. He can let those guys develop the defense. That defensive organism it's moving in the right direction. It's time to sit down with the offensive guys and start putting your imprint on how you want them to play. And I think the big thing is that you can all get them in a room and say, we need a consistent running game. The teams in the playoffs that were successful ahead of us, because we're close, to use the Lincoln Riley phrase, all had a consistent running game. We didn't, and that was a factor.
True. End of story.
I mean, that's just the reality. And if you have a consistent running game to help any quarterback, you see the NFL, and if you have better tight end play, which allows you to be more multiple, and teams can't just tee off your personnel in terms of what you're going to do because they don't know what you're doing because, that tight end keeps catching the football and keeps moving the sticks. I mean, the Rocky Beers kid, had something like 10 or 15 receptions for first downs for CSU. He moved the sticks for him, and he's a good-looking kid. His sister might be the best athlete in the family, and he has to deal with that nonsense. Since Reagan Beers is like an All-American. But, I think they're doing a good job. I think they do have some talent with Trinae Washington and Tyler Ruxer, some kids that could be flexed out, receiving weapons, bigger receiving weapons at tight end. We'll see how that works out. I think Ruxer could be a Grant Calcaterra kind of weapon for OU. For those that remember Grant and how effective he was.
Bad dude, bro.
How effective he was. And he's still collecting an NFL paycheck as far as I knew. But I think, Jason, they've done a good job so far in the portal. They're a couple of boxes away. They've added some interesting pieces on defense. If they can add the defensive tackle that they want, I think that closes it down. They could add a couple more interesting pieces on the offensive line. That would be good. And Chris and I talked about this last night, Jason. I think there's a chance they might add another running back next week when some kids are looking around, kids who think they want RB1 money and are not finding it. And then they could contact OU and say, we don't have RB1 money for you, but we have a wide open opportunity for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can come here. In our spring, our two primary running backs for the fall are probably going to be recovering from surgery. And even if they're ready to go, we're going to hold them back because there's no point getting them hurt in spring. So you'd have spring.
And what they're doing, they're looking for that guy that can spell those dudes anyway at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you're going to be competing against two freshmen who we're going to be giving a lot of reps to. but that they're freshmen. So you have a chance to come in and flash and grab the RB1 job in spring. Now, can you keep it in the fall when my other guys are healthy? I don't know. That's up to you. But you have a chance to be a factor in our running game for Oklahoma. And if you prefer to go to somewhere else, like I'm just going to throw out a school. I don't mean to insult that school, but if you want to go to Utah State and be their RB1, go ahead. But if you want to be a factor on a power team in the SEC that has playoff aspirations, we've got a certain amount of money. If that's what you want to do, give us a call. We'll bring you in and we'll talk. But RB1 money is not available in the portal. And I think a lot of running backs that, are leaving big time programs are going to kind of realize that they don't have RB1 money out there. They're leaving a school, and the RB1 money somewhere else could be RB2 or 3. So at OU, RB3 money at OU could equal RB1 money at a lot of other places. That's just a fact.
Too late. It's too late, Benji. Too late. Got your ass anyway. And I didn't even ask TVD to do it. Let it go, Mark.
Yeah, so I think that's a possibility. And again, I think a fourth tight end might be possible if you get your guy you want, and he says, "Well, now that I'm here, there's a guy that now that I'm here, that message will get to the agent of a tight end that really wants to be coached by me, and that guy will hit the portal."
Right.
I mean that happens. I mean that's just the way it works. So,
Coach Smook's got a hot one. He said he was never him. Talking about Ty Simpson declaring for the draft, he was never him. Coach Smook on a hot one over on his show. I have to get over there and check that out after we're done. Shout out to Coach Smook.
The Russell kid is really talented. Austin Mack looked like he had some juice, but you're still losing a veteran quarterback. And as good as Russell is, there's going to be some growing pains there if that's the guy you decide to put out front. But DeBoer, kind of needs to get his guys and get going with his guys to see if it makes a difference. But the Indiana game does not bode well for Kalen DeBoer. DeBoer's offseason is going to be painful. So
yeah, it has.
It has. You can't get drugged like that on national television, and your team quit. Your team just quit as well. That's the thing that always throws me, Jason, is whenever you're a power team and your guys just quit on you. So,
is that you getting messages?
Sorry, it's coming through on my. It's coming through. It's Chris has to bug me while I'm talking to you.
Tell him he's just getting on my fucking nerves. He knows better. He gets on everybody else's ass if their texts come through.
Yeah, sorry, it's coming through on on my phone. I need to turn it off. Sorry.
No, he needs to knock it off. He knows it is. We kick his ass.
There we go. So, but no, Jason, I think
hey, Monty, it's not an issue with backs, guys. The backs are there that you need. They don't have to go and spend a bunch of money on Caden Durham or any of that stuff. And look, I get it. He's an Oklahoma guy. To me, it doesn't sound like that's what's going to happen. They needed to continue doing what they're doing, which is getting tight ends that can block, linemen that can help, give you depth there, and then work on doing something different in that game, in the running game.
Yeah, exactly. They need to do those.
Don't make it RPO based. Run the motherfucker off tackle a little bit, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, or do some combination of it. It's just you need to do something different and be doing something different to combine stuff. So we'll see. Well, I'm all right. Let me see if I'm very happy that the way you can't fault the execution and the efficacy of what we're doing. And for the most part, the guys we're getting in seem to be guys that are different. I mean,
players that are going to play now.
Yeah, Hanson. Our best blocking tight end last year was Caden Helms. And Caden, God bless him, after 2 knee injuries, was 238, something like that? 235, maybe? Hayden Hanson's 270 freaking pounds. He's 35 pounds bigger, and he's 6'7". He has absurd reach, and he's, that's the difference. Rocky Beers is 250. he crunches people in the blocking game. And then if they get this kid from Yale, he's 6'6", 260, and crushes guys in the blocking game, in the run game. So OU's clearly making a change, just deciding that they want to get bigger at the tight end position and have the ability to really run the football behind tight ends and use them in a way. Like I said, guys, watch Gabe and Teddy just basically drooling over Hanson's video on their in the weeds video.
He's a monster.
Yeah, I mean, he's just
a monster
monstrous.
that can move, a monster that can catch balls. I mean, there's nothing to not like about what he looks like. There isn't.
So from that perspective, and he's just huge. And if you get, they've got a UConn guy from Germany they might kick the tires on if they can't. Overall, it's OU's done a good job, and I think we all were frustrated about how the way the Alabama game went, right? And if you were in that stadium, I know Jason and Chris were, and how frustrated they were with that loss, and especially watching Bama give up against Indiana, where we may have struggled to beat Indiana, but we wouldn't have given up on defense like Alabama did, right? Our defense, the physicality of our defense, is not up for debate. But when you pull back from there, the momentum the program has right now is elite. It's doing really well. So, and I think you talk about the way they closed the 2026 recruiting with Petit, Rogers, Ruxer, and some of the other pieces they were able to get. And then you look at the 2027 high school recruiting, which is going crazy. I need to do a recruiting podcast about high school stuff and not talk about portal stuff because there's so much good high school stuff going on. And then you talk about the success that they're doing here, the fact they retained most everybody that they wanted to retain, save for a couple of losses. I think they've already offset the Devin Jordan loss with the Fields acquisition. But you look at all that, Jason, I mean, OU's going to be a top 10 preseason team. Something 6-7 range, probably. So, from that perspective, that's the momentum OU has right now. Guys, George Stoia has put an article out about Sullivan. I'm not going to give away his paywall content. That's not fair. He just posted it. So if you're on Sooner Scoop, you can go read it. But there appears to be some noise about Sullivan making a decision and coming up, and we'll see if OU was able to close that out. Now, it would be a big addition. That defensive tackle, linebacker, if you can get the defensive tackle you want. There's a guy at Iowa State they're also looking at who that's also very good, 6'5", 290. I prefer the Iowa State guy just because I like Iowa State. Max Ware, Sullivan hasn't signed. There's nothing indicating that right now.
There's nothing. That's not the indication. Go check out. If you're gonna have to check that out with George Story. He's the one breaking that, and it's behind his paywall. So we're not gonna shit on them and put out anything that we may or may not know. And I don't know anything, just so you know. But
yeah, I mean, I've read
we're definitely not gonna burn on 3 and Stoya on something that he's got behind his paywall and nobody else is putting out.
Yeah, I mean. And all credit to George, he does a great job following the portal stuff. So we're not going to do that. But that's where, if you're wondering where the noise is coming from, that's where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. So, and Michigan people maybe are starting to report the same thing, but I don't have anything from my sources, my bat phone. So I'm not gonna steal somebody else and pretend I have info that's not mine.
Right.
I don't do that. I don't do that. That's not what I do.
Right.
And
let me see what Story is saying.
So I would say, Michigan people are going to, if OU does get Sullivan, the meltdown on Michigan's message board.
It could happen today, according to what Story is saying in his article.
No, Cherokee, if Parker Thune says, I have given Parker credit for stories that Parker is the lead guy on. And if you've heard me say that.
No, that's about me not liking Parker. That's what he's saying.
Well, I mean,
But I don't do that shit to him either. I don't go. In fact, I don't use their site, number one. So I wouldn't be able to do that because I don't look at his shit. But I also would not burn Parker any more than I would burn Stoya or any of those other guys. That's not how we roll out here. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, guys, if you listen to my pod or if you're on my Patreon, anytime Thune or Drum or Josh have the scoop, and I reference it, I directly give them credit.
And then understand something. I've been a fucking journalist for 20 years.
All right, and Jason, you'll back me up on that, right?
I don't do that shit. I don't steal somebody's stuff and act like it's my own. That's not how I roll either.
Yeah.
So
and Jason, you back me up on that. I'm always citing those guys. If it's their content, I'm always citing them.
Yeah, no doubt. I do the same. I look. That's how you're supposed to do it. That's how you're supposed to do it.
I don't know that I landed a jab at C405. Are you saying?
I don't know what. Yeah, nice jab.
Are you saying I'm not? Are you saying I'm taking a jab at Colin Kennedy? Then if you haven't listened to my podcast or read my stuff on my Patreon. I'm constantly saying Colin Kennedy is a recruiting professional, and I have respect for what he does. And when he says something, he has backed it up. And Jason, I just said that on one of our live streams like last week, right?
Oh yeah, I agree.
So
that's not Captain 405.
Captain 405. I'm no comment.
Yeah, we don't talk about Captain 405.
I mean, no
look,
comment.
And I don't know that he's good. I don't know that he's bad. I'm not gonna. I know there's a lot of shit out there about him, and so I wouldn't trust him.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know Captain 405.
You would. I would allow this. Yes, I would allow it.
Yeah. Well, I won't. Well, no comment on Captain 405. So let's move on.
No, Jason, he was talking about. Look at this one. I would let Norman shit in PT's yard, though. It's true. It's fair.
Okay. All right.
But that's different. It's not. But I cannot like a guy and still not be unethical about the way that we do things.
Okay. All right. Breaking news from Pete Nakos and that OU has just pulled Cole Sullivan. So if you want to have some amusement, find a Michigan message board and watch the effing meltdown, because they were panicked over losing this guy. They're losing Jayshon Barnum to the NFL. They've lost they're losing a lot of their front four to the NFL. This guy was their main linebacker they needed to have back. And OU thinks he is Danny Stutzman is the word that I kept hearing from my OU sources. They want Cole Sullivan. They think he's another Danny Stutzman.
Yeah.
So you put Danny, you have like a Danny Stutzman quality guy next to senior level Kip at linebacker. This basically is Owen Heineke gets screwed and doesn't get a waiver insurance. You now have this guy, Samu Musigo and Kip. You now have the best three linebacker rotation in the SEC. And then you've got James Nesta, who this staff loves and think is going to be just an awesome kid. You know, we're going to do some shows on our Thursday night, and I'm willing to come on here. You know, Jason will never talk about it. It's like there's like 5 guys who were Taylor Wine preseason award candidates, right? And by that I mean low impact redshirt freshman years absolutely blow up their sophomore redshirt year, right? And James Nesta is one of those guys.
Yeah, I think he's going to be great. Dave's here is not having a meltdown. He's a Michigan fan that comes on the show quite a bit, but he said he is great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying the average Michigan fan, not like, just like the average OU fan had a complete meltdown.
I'm going to have to check on the Maze Madman and make sure.
You are going to. I think he'll be very mad.
Yeah, I think he may. And then, I've been busting their balls a little bit lately anyways, because of the stuff that I continue to hear about how wonderful the Big Ten is. It's such a joke.
Does anybody have any last questions? Because I need to bounce.
Anything else? Yeah.
I'll give you
guys. We got 1 minute. Get in a question that isn't bullshit, and we'll see what he says.
And then while we're waiting on that, just a reminder: the Navy All-American game is Saturday. Charles Hatton's in it, and OU is looking to get 2 big commitments. Devin Robertson, 6'2", 320-pound nose guard from Mississippi.
Yep.
You want a comp? He is a twitchier, faster version of Dominic Williams, and Coach Bates will get to coach him for 4 years. Then
Nice.
Tevin Epps, the outside linebacker from California, 6'5", 220. A Sam Backer, outside linebacker, also top 100 player in the nation. His film is unreal. He looks like Kendall Daniels, basically. But imagine Kendall Daniels as an elite pass rusher too. That's how good this kid could be in Brent's defense. He should be announcing for OU as well. Gabriel Osborne maybe falling to OU sometime soon. There's some rumblings there. Those three guys would put OU over the top, and that put them close to 15 commitments. So, all right,
That
man.
one was me. I know that was me. I'm telling Chris to back the fuck up.
That was my mistake. I forgot to mute my computer, keep my headphones going.
My bad.
So that was going for my computer speaker. But yeah, that's the all things are so far OU's having as good an off season as you can say. I mean, there are a lot of programs having worse off seasons, and we could rattle them off if you want, but OU's doing well.
Yep. Norman protects my mother in New Mexico. He's the protector dog he loves my mom, and so I'm back in Oklahoma right now. He's not here, but he was on the show the other day. You guys didn't see him. My dog Norman.
We love Norman. Norman needs his own show. So
Norman does need his own show. He's a pain in the ass.
Be very popular. So, Jason, anything else? Anything else to note?
Not that I can see. I think that this is a big get. I mean, what we're looking at here with Sullivan. I mean, that's a big get. And I know that they have been definitely hoping that he stayed at Michigan. I'm glad he is going to be a Sooner. So I think that was a big deal. As far as like the rest of the stuff, I mean, I know that it's going to continue. That just goes to show what I was talking about and what's in the headline. They're on a heater, guys. They're on a heater. You can say what you want about some of the guys that aren't going to be there, but the guys that they've been grabbing is guys that they wanted. It's need based, and you got to say, I mean, to me, the needs have been filled that they're going after. So there's not a ton that you can say right now about all this stuff. They just went 10-3, made the playoff, and they're getting the fruits of that through their recruiting and portal play. So,
and our defense has just added 3 pieces to a loaded returning defense. Mm-hmm. 2 guys who have massive upsides, and then this guy Sullivan is basically a starter. He's going to be a starter. He's probably going to start for us, unless Heineke gets his waiver.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have a linebacker rotation that will just...
Ooh, buddy.
I think he's
going to get the waiver. So
the NCAA is doing all kinds of weird shit with basketball. It's not helping. They're leaving themselves wide open for Chambliss, even though I do think his tonsillitis red shirt injury stuff is kind of bullshit, but whatever. Do what you can. Do what you do.
Matters. I don't think it really matters. I think in the end, they've allowed guys to stay for other reasons. I mean, there was a guy last year that was a fucking 10-year player.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I don't want to hear about one extra year for a guy that played.
The TJ Finley kid is what, in year 7?
Yeah.
I mean, but guys, thanks for having me on again, Jason.
I appreciate you coming on. We definitely needed to update everybody here on the show.
A lot of news, and Chris and I are doing night. If you're not following me on YouTube, follow me on YouTube.
We're doing nightlies.
We're doing nightlies. We've been broadcasting on Jason's channel. Thank you, Jason, for letting us cross over on you.
Glad to do it. Glad to have
broadcast to get that out. We're getting close to about 800 people on our 3 channels watching those shows. Mm-hmm. And we're doing them we've been doing them to Portal Combat every night. We weren't going to go tonight, but Cole Sullivan may mean we need to do another one tonight. So,
yeah.
But that's
we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I mean, obviously, that's a big pickup. It's a huge pickup. So,
and we could
hopefully something will come up about this. And I saw where On 3 is talking about Chambliss and ESPN talking about Chambliss and his plight against the NCAA on the waiver and bitching about why it hasn't already been decided upon. Well, that means it's probably going to get decided upon, and you would expect that Heineke will probably come
And
right
his,
in there
and his
behind
lawyer,
him.
his lawyer's pushing things heavily too. So,
Sure, of course.
one last thing,
And
Mars James asking about C.J. Baxter. Here's what I will tell you: C.J. Baxter, for reasons I don't know and have no context on, is following Jim Nagy and Lake Dawson on social media, and they followed him back. So that's all I got for you. I got
What a head
nothing.
scratcher.
I got nothing more for you than that. Maybe he's simply reaching out to Jim Nagy for some career advice.
CJ's healthy. CJ could play. So
Well, and he'd be 2 years removed from his knee this fall. And that's sometimes the running backs, it's the second year where all of a sudden things kick in. But who knows? Well, Jason, thanks for having me on. I'm going to jump. Guys, we may do a portal tonight. I'm going to be doing a high school portal podcast on my regular channel tonight. You can either get that recorded because there's all kinds of stuff to talk about, as I mentioned. And Jason, I think we may try and get together tomorrow night to just talk some OU themes and to make some playoff picks. If we have time.
When
tomorrow night? Yeah, around 8 Central.
I'm ready. I'm in.
Talk a little OU stuff and talk some playoff picks. And some
Absolutely.
bigger.
I'm in all the way.
All
Always.
right, go ahead. I'll get it set up with Jason. I'll get it set up with Chris.
Sounds good, brother.
Right,
Have a good one. Bye. Chris Mason, Sooners 360. Make sure you guys are subscribed over there on his show at, I think it's at Atlanta Sooner. Let me drop it in there. But actually, you don't even need to worry about that. You can do it straight on in the in the description. It's right at the top. Sooners 360. It is linked in there as well, so you can jump right in there, become a subscriber if you're not already. You should also jump over to his Patreon. It's like $1.99 a month, man. Very cheap to keep up with a lot of that stuff behind his paywall. So there's things that throughout the year that you'll see that you wouldn't see anywhere else. So definitely worth having. And again, when it comes to that stuff, I'm glad that the Sullivan stuff came through. But we were doing it the right way. We weren't gonna step on George's exclusive stuff. So on 3, Pete Nakos jumped on it. And he's part of the On 3 network, so that, makes it obvious. But according to Nakos, posted on X 50 seconds ago. Yeah, it's all good. All right. Let's see. And we're only getting so much stuff on the live chat deal. So I'll have to keep popping back and forth. Something's going on with that. Chris Mason is the man. Chris Mason is the man. As far as Norm goes, yeah, would I get more likes and stuff like that because of Norm? Probably. He's got a more important job, though. He's got to take care of my mother. My mother. All right. Think a beer with Lake Dawson and his girlfriend at a local pub here in KC way back in the day when he was a chief. You drank a beer with him. That's awesome. That's pretty freaking awesome. That's awesome. I like it. All right. What else? I think we've gone over pretty much everything. This stuff with I want to see what's the news. I mean, is there any news on what's going on with this quarterback situation in LSU? I think that's pretty awesome, pretty crazy stuff. Kenny Ozawalu is who we were talking about earlier. I could have done that easy. Kenny Ozawalu, the edge guy coming in from Reagan, Texas. He is, that dude's gonna be a stud. UTSA guy. But they've done some good stuff, man. Bringing in Dakota Fields is kind of surprising. But Marion Harris, I think we're looking at guys that I think they've done a good job, man. I think they've done a good job filling places that they needed to fill. We'll kind of wait and see what the rest of it looks like, but I'm excited about what looks like it's going. It was more like 3 beers. That's awesome. Even better, Neilio. Even better. Good stuff. Appreciate the increased volume of podcasts. Cool. Yeah. You guys know that really, I'm going to give them the channel to use because of the fact that they're bringing up more stuff that I'm not going to do a ton of. I'm just not really I'm not one of those guys that's going to jump that deep into definitely recruiting, but the portal is important, and so I definitely make a point of trying to keep up with that as much. But I mean, look, we're trying to grow all these channels. And so it doesn't hurt anything to have these guys on. You're going to see this channel is going to go. We're kind of headed in a different direction at this point, and it's something that I'm going to always be a Sooner. I'm always going to cover Sooner football. But I'm going to tell you this: I am a college football junkie, and the way that it looks like things are going to kind of head in this next few weeks, even and really throughout until next season. Next season is really going to be I'm going to be covering all of it. So I'm not going to be at every Sooner game. I'm not going to spend my entirety of my, content time on Oklahoma moving forward, just because of the simple fact that I've got another opportunity to work with another friend of the show, but in a more of a SEC capacity. So that's kind of where I'm headed on that stuff, which I'm excited about it as well. The hardest working man in podcasting. I don't know about all that. I know others, but I do try. I do put a lot out there as much as I can. Thank you though, Unc. Appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on and why it's not populating this stuff over here, but it isn't. I went back to that. TP, only need 8 aside. You just got new clubs? I didn't get new clubs. You got new clubs, TP. Yeah, bro. I'm playing better, but I've been playing bad. I ain't giving you shit. I've been playing bad golf all summer. It's starting to clean up a little bit. I mean, I went to the range at Early Wine the other day and wasn't bad. Yesterday, day before yesterday, I guess it was. Yeah, when I got back to town. So love that range over there. There's actually a new spot that I'd really like to. I'm gonna have to hit up a nighttime golf joint over here. It's just I want to say it's in Moore, maybe not quite Moore, but right outside of Moore. I'm not sure. I think it's called. I'm not gonna say the name because I don't want to screw it up. But they got nighttime golf and it's a pub and all this stuff. Looks like they got decent food. I don't know. Just going by what I saw online. Looks like a decent joint. I like nighttime golf. It's a little different for sure, but anytime I can get out on the course, I'm kind of getting the Jonesies for it whenever I and it's wintertime and shit, but I'm still love doing it. Kickers! He just gave me a super chat. I don't know why it's not working on here, but I will read it anyways. Let me see it. Hold on real quick, Kickers. Let me see if I can repopulate here. What the hell's going on? Doesn't appear to be working, Chris, but I'll read it here anyways. Thank you for the super chat, sir. What's up with LSU? The NIL deals may not be approved. Also, don't text me acting foolish. Was it foolish though? You get all bitchy about people. In their and the phone going off whenever we're on stream with you. So don't tell me what to get bitchy about, bruh. Homie. All right. Yeah, I don't know. What do you mean by what's going on with that they're not going to approve what NIL? Because this is news to me. I don't know. The NIL deals may not be approved. Their main thing, I'll tell you this, whatever's going on at LSU, if they're talking about not approving NIL deals would be wild, because I'll say this much. The reason that they got Lane Kiffin was because of all their promises about NIL money and all that other stuff that they're going to have for him once he got there. Pretty crazy stuff. It sounds like Chambliss is going back to, I think there's definitely some weird stuff. And I think that Lane is going a little buck wild himself. All this stuff with the quarterback from Washington while he had a quarterback there at the game with him is wild shit, man. It's just crazy stuff. So I don't know what's going on, man. JRs? Is that what you're talking about? What do you think about that place, Snake? Is it good? Have I ever linked up with the SEC podcast guys? Cousin cousin Shane a little bit. Not a ton, but I haven't been on the show or nothing like that. But I've talked to cousin Shane from time to time. I guess a little bit. I mean, as far as like Mike, I mean, no, not really. But I like them. I like their show. Mm-hmm. 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 This is what you need, more practice. Yeah, everybody needs more practice, bro. The golf is a rough. I was a lot better this past. I played in Hobbs while I was out there. The first day I didn't play as good, but I was hitting the ball better, and then I kind of brought it together with my short game the next game. So it's headed in the right direction, but I need to keep it grooved. I like early wine out here because they've got heated stalls in nighttime golf, so you can go out there and hit range balls until whenever. I like that stuff. But yeah. Anyway. If he gets another year of eligibility, he's going back to Ole Miss. Yeah, that's what I heard. Supposedly somebody leaked some of the terms of the Sorsby deal. Well, that was they were trying to get. Well, I don't know. It's a little wiggy. I'm gonna get a hold of my guy out in NOLA and see what's going on there. But he's been telling me since for a while now, that it's been pretty nuts, right? That everything that's been going on, and I mean it really kind of was, but it wasn't going well with BK either. And then now, so it's still being some leftover residual bullshit isn't that big of a surprise, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, we already talked about that there, Sooner Cowboys. Thank you. Everybody needs all the practice they can get, TP. Everybody. Winning completely changed the trajectory of Oklahoma. I hope so. Listen, they got to win. They got to keep winning. It's going to have to continue, right? Going to have to continue. Several saying that LSU's NIL won't be approved by the clearinghouse. All NIL deals now have to be legit because of rev share. This was their contract for Sorsby. Just so you know, the clearinghouse stuff, you say that, but I don't see that being a thing. I'll just be honest with you. I don't see that being a thing. Fuck that clearinghouse. The clearinghouse didn't I mean, look at all the money that Texas Tech spent. Look at all the money that we've seen being spent out there by other programs. Screw that clearinghouse. There are people saying that stuff, but we're not seeing it actually come into effect. And guaranteed, it'll go right. All it'll do is end up going right to court, and that's not going to work out. That's not going to work out. So good luck with that. The clearinghouse stuff, I'll believe it when I see it. That's all I got to say. Where are you seeing this? Now, On3 is plans to enforce its contract with Jamal Williams, which was signed 4 days ago. Sources tell On3 that LSU is the early team to watch. I don't know. That's a new story that's just coming up on 3. Yeah, I don't know that there's anything that they can really do. Miami's also in on it as well. But again, Adding more intrigue to this legal battle, Fish and Williams share the same agent at Wasserman. The Washington quarterback threw for 4,009 yards and 33 touchdowns to only 9 interceptions, adding 893 rushing yards and 8 TDs in 26 career games at UW. That's actually more than I expected. How is he not? Was he not more of a Heisman contender? That's fucking nuts. Yeah, that's pretty wild. What's up there, Astro? Texas linebacker Bo Barnes just hit the portal as well. Something's going on at Texas, man. I'll tell you that much. I wouldn't worry all that much about their defense with who they're bringing in. We know that the guy knows who's in, but there's certainly some issues going on there. There's certainly some issues going on there, and beating them for guys in the portal and stuff like that. It's the meltdown in Austin could be coming at any point. So it is what it is. But guys, we've been going for just under 2 hours. I'm starving, man. I've got some stuff to do around here. But appreciate everybody coming in. Make sure you check out, as I said before, Mr. Mason at Sooners 360, K Chris and the Horns Down podcast at Horns Down Podcast right here on YouTube. Appreciate everybody coming in. We'll see you on the next one.